Okay, good afternoon. Today we're going to make pizza dough. I'm actually making 2 batches. So what I'm going to need is all-purpose flour, tepid water, olive oil spray that we'll put into our bowl when it's time to proof the dough, olive oil, salt, and sugar. I'm actually using 1,150 grams of all-purpose flour, 24 ounces of tepid water. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of olive oil, about 10 to 12 grams of salt, and about a half a teaspoon of sugar. On top of that, in order for it to rise, we're going to use 2 packages of dry active yeast. That's going to be about 4.5 teaspoons of dry active yeast. So what we want to do is we want to start with dissolving the yeast in the water, and we use tepid water, anywhere between 90 and 110. Try not to, don't go too hot, because then it basically kills the yeast. This is commercial yeast, but still it does react, so it's a living organism. So we're going to take that. I'm going to take this one here and open that up. Make sure that you have your yeast and it's more or less fresh, not sitting in a cupboard too long where it starts getting clumpy, because then it gets very difficult to mix. I basically get my whisk and I start mixing it up. And as you mix it up, you'll see it'll start to bubble. It'll actually start to smell a little bit like dough. And that's the reaction of the yeast with the warm tepid water. And you stir it up really good. Make sure that everything is completely dissolved in there. Usually about 30 seconds does it. And I don't know if you could see there on the camera, but it is starting to bubble. Yep, starting to have that doughy smell to it, which is really good. Not sourdough, regular dough. Sourdough is a whole different process. You have to have starter, and then you mix your sourdough with tepid water to create your live yeast. But we're not doing that today. All right, and that seems like it's mixed up pretty well and well dissolved. Yeah, I can see the bubbles coming to the top. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons now of olive oil. That should be about 1. That's about 2. Going to want about 10 grams of, and I do this all the time, so I obviously can do it by eye. 10 grams of salt. I'm using Himalayan salt. And yep, that's about 6. 5 or 6. And that seems about double, so we'll pop that in there. And really, really easy. This is very, very easy. And now the sugar. That's about a half of a teaspoon. Okay, and then we do the same thing. Mix it all up. Make sure the sugar and the salt is dissolved. Again, probably about another 30 seconds. While you're dissolving that, it does dissolve with the olive oil. And this is a recipe I use every Friday starting in Lent, because Fridays, being Catholic, we don't eat meat. But then we also sometimes do that throughout the year. When it's my turn to cook on a Friday night, and it's not 1,000 degrees outside, this is what I do. That's all good. Very important, baker's scraper. I make myself a little mound in there, a little hole in the mound. This bowl could have been a little bit bigger, because we've got a lot of water, a lot of flour. It won't go over the side, but it is a lot. So we slowly put the water in. Okay, so we're good there. And now, all we do is start folding. From the sides, work everything in. You want the entire dough. And I'm gonna tell you now, double recipe is a little bit harder, but you want all of the flour completely wet. When you think you're done, you're really not. You just got to keep going, because you will have some clumps in there and everything won't be distributed evenly, which means you'll have rising problems and issues like that. And that's all I've learned from experience. But if you could see the dough, now it's starting to get wet, but still got a lot of water. This is why we need the scraper to scrape the dry off the sides. And don't worry, I'm not going to show you this for the whole video. I'll actually edit the video down a little bit so you don't see it, but I do want you to see how the dough is starting to get wet. And right now you might think, oh boy, it's getting hard. But there's not a lot of, there's still a lot of flour in here that's dry, and that's why we gotta keep working it. Then after we work it, we will knead it for about 8 to 12 minutes so it gets nice and smooth. And then we're gonna put it in another bowl where we're gonna use that olive oil spray. And yeah, see now my hand's getting tired. We use the olive oil spray so when it rises, it's not gonna stick to the bowl. And we'll be able to get it out nice and easy, and it'll be looking like one big pillow. And then we'll obviously have to separate them into 4 equal pieces. And those equal pieces will be the dough that we actually use for each pie. It's starting to get hard now. We want to make sure everything gets mixed in really well. But I can tell you this, it takes longer to go out to the store or your favorite pizzeria if they'll sell you dough. It takes you a longer time to do that than it is to make your own dough. And for me personally, this is my absolute favorite. Because you always treat the dough gently this way when you cook it. You really didn't punch out or be rough with it and lose all the air bubbles, because that's what rising does. It creates the air bubbles for you. And the dough is really nice and light, crispy on the bottom. But as you can see, it's really starting to look like a little bit like dough now, but it's still, so sometimes you got it, and you're folding, you want to slide and mash a little bit so you can get everything wet. And now it's really starting to get hard. It's starting to get cramps in the hands. I've been doing this a long time, and I still get the cramps in the hands. You see here, we still got some dryness underneath. So I'm going to try and put the dough down and get the dryness up and start folding again. All right, now let's try and start working this with my hands a little bit. Maybe not. Let's see. Still got that dryness underneath. You see that? So I really got to fold it from underneath it over. Yeah, see, when I start playing with my hand, it's really starting to get very sticky. But we're going to try that a little bit. Do some semi-kneading with it as well. And at some point in here, you're going to have to wash your hand and make sure it's completely dry. It does get a little bit easier to work with. Always have some spare flour, which I did not bring out today, but I have it over there, so I can always go get it. Just so this way, when I put it on the counter, I'll be able to knead it a lot easier. Okay. I don't want to clean my hands off and probably use a scraper a little bit more now. I don't think it's ready for kneading. Like I said, I don't think it's ready for kneading. Like I said, when you think it's ready for kneading, it's really not. You gotta really work with the baker scraper some more. Get this off my hand. Flour shaker. So there's more flour in there. But this is starting to get to where I guess this is what we need. It seems like everything is wet now. This is good. So now you see I go to the bottom and there's no dryness. Now a little bit, but not much. And it's good because it's very warm in here. Right now it's 78, so this sucker's gonna rise in like 40 minutes when you have to wait an hour. Usually I wait an hour when the kitchen's usually about 72, 74. You want to wait an hour. Get a little flour here. And now we're just going to fold over. All in there. And we're going to do this for about 8 minutes to 12 minutes. Just going to see the consistency of it. I want the whole thing to be really smooth. And just keep folding it over to each other. Work that dough in there good. That makes everything very even on the inside. The yeast that was dissolved, the water, gives everything a real good consistency. Sticky, a little more flour. And I'm videoing myself making the pizza dough. I have friends that want to know how to do it, so maybe I'll start my own YouTube channel like Baked by Jack. I can't do something virtual because with the shutdown, I'm not going to open a pizza shop, that's for sure. Keep folding it over. See, it's starting to get smoother. And this is definitely a workout.
You're probably not over-kneading it.
No, I'm not. Don't tell me. I make this every week. And you're telling me I'm over-kneading. It's a double recipe, remember? If it was a single recipe, we would have been done already. But we're going to make some pies for the neighbors and send them over later, so it won't be just 2 pies, it's 4. Woman of the house always has something to say when I'm in the kitchen. That I'm doing this wrong, don't put a cover on the gravy when it simmers. You gotta cover it, don't leave it open. You don't know how to cut an onion. Certainly don't know how to work a mandolin, that's for sure. I already sliced the finger off once. Not the finger off, but a slice of the finger. All right, so still a little on the sticky side. Not really smooth. So we'll add a little bit more flour. And don't be afraid to put the flour on your hands and get that, spread that over the dough. But you don't want too much flour either, because then the pizza dough is really dense. Most important thing when you're playing with dough for any type of bread product is multiplication, which would be water hydration, and structure. Get the right structure, which is what we're trying to do right now. You're always going to have great consistency of the dough, and it will never be very dense unless you use very little water. Okay, see that looks good. All right. So I was debating on whether I should put this in 2 bowls or 1. Wash my hands first, but I think I'm going to put it in 1 bowl. It's going to rise about double that. sure your hands are dry. All right, we're gonna use this bowl and olive oil the inside. Spray olive oil. We'll put our dough right down in the center, and then we'll spray the top with olive oil. Make sure it's covered all around. And the reason we do that is because most people take a towel and cover it. I like the hydration to stay in there, and the towel does it. But I don't know what this is called. There's a baker's term for this, but I call it a shower cap. Basically cover it up, and come back in an hour, and that will be double in size. And the olive oil on the top, this way, if it does reach the top of the shower cap, it doesn't stick. So we'll be back in an hour. Okay, we're back. Look at that. That has risen. You see how the shower cap came right off? That's why olive oil at the top. But that has completely risen. So we're doing good from that perspective. And now what we need is olive oil spray, 4 Ziploc bags. Ziploc bags work magic. And we need our scraper, baker scraper. So spray a little olive oil on the counter. We're going to slowly use the scraper and pull this out of the bowl. And I hope it's in the camera view. But it comes really easy since we've olive oiled everything. So it's not sticking. And there we go. That's our pizza dough. Now we need to cut up into 4. I just want to make sure it's in camera view. It's good enough. Good enough. Try and slide it around. You just don't want to play with it too much because you could see closely a lot of bubbles in there. So I want to take the scraper, split it in half. And just use your judgment. So that's in half this way. Now we're going to split it in half again, both of those pieces. Split in half again. There we go. So now we have 4 equal pieces of pizza dough. And you're probably wondering how we're going to spread that out with them being more or less like triangles or quarter moons. So where we cut, we spray some olive oil there and spread it. And the reason we're doing that is because when we put it in the Ziploc obviously square, and it's going to rise and fill out the entire Ziploc. So I'm ready, let me do it this way. You gotta be very gingerly when you take this because you don't want to crush the bubbles. So you pick it up very gingerly, open up the Ziploc, slide it in as best as you can. This one's giving me a little bit of difficulty. Maybe I should put a little bit more olive oil on here, but it's still gonna be fine. A little fold under there we want to get out. Let that fold out. There we go. And that's it. And now we want to make a little pillow. So now we close it and we have air in there because air is going to continuously build up inside of that bag as the dough continues to rise. And I will add a little bit more olive oil on top of each one. Then move very gingerly with it. And it's warm. Always best to spread dough at room temperature as opposed to cold. Cold, it's going to be elastic and it's going to bounce right back. You just let it go softly in there. There's no folds. Away from the edge. You're going to see in another hour, this is really going to fill up the whole bag. Close the bubble, close it up, lay it to the side. Not the fun part. Just going to wipe this bit. this one. Same thing, do it 4 times. I put it in the bag also because when it comes time to put it in your rectangular pan, it's all square, so I cut the sides of the bag and just flip it right over. I don't even have to handle it anymore. And then it's in the pan, and I can easily spread it out. That's 3, and then the last one. See, you gingerly, but I've already started, it's so soft and delicate, you start poking holes in it so easily. Should have blown this bag up a little bit, would have been easier. There we go. Well, blow it. Now, if I need to slide it down a little with the olive oil, it can easily slide down. We're going to leave these just like this for about an hour, or even 2 hours, 3 hours. It really doesn't matter when you're ready to cook them. They will all be square in each Ziploc, and it's made life a lot easier when you go to spread the dough. So when you're spreading it, you don't have thin spots. You can get a good consistent layer or thickness without thin spots, without holes and things of that nature. So we'll be back probably about an hour, hour and a half, and I'll just show you how you lay it out in the pan. And once we do that, after that, it's up to you. You put any type of toppings you want. You can make white pizza, you can use marinara sauce, you can use arrabbiata sauce, anything that you want. But that would be it with the pizza dough. So we'll see you back in an hour and a half. Okay, we're back. We already did the other 4. This one is a single recipe, so I'm only going to split this up into 2. And I want to show you this because it's in a clear bowl, so you can easily see how it comes out of the bowl. And this one I'm only going to divide into 2 as opposed to 4. Like I said, I need 2 Ziplocs because I'm going to store it in Ziploc now for the next hour and a half so it can rise. And when it rises in the Ziploc, it's actually going to rise and take the shape of the square because the Ziploc is a square. If you just left it out on your counter after you cut it in half, basically you want to put it in a ball. If you're going to make a round pizza, you'll put it in a ball and you gingerly put it in a ball. And then just cover it with some plastic or a towel, and that'll be fine. Let that rise some more for about another hour, or you can even do more than an hour, it doesn't matter. But we're gonna olive oil the countertop again. Take the scraper, and now you can watch it come right out of the bowl. It's very easy because the bowl has been sprayed with olive oil. And if you don't have olive oil spray, just put some olive oil and spread it around, paper towel, your hands, doesn't matter. But there we go, and you can see that it's a nice big pillow, if you will. And now what we do is we want to split that into 2 even pieces. And that's 2 even pieces. If you're going to make a round pizza, you'll basically round this up into a round pillow. But I'm not doing that. I want it to rise in the Ziploc, so when it rises in the Ziploc, it takes the shape of a square in the Ziploc. So I'm going to open the Ziploc, give myself a little pillow so I have some room to work with. I'll do it to the second one also. These are the ones that I did before. Spray olive oil where we cut because there's no olive oil there. All right, we spray it and then just a little light on the olive oil on top too. And just spread it out nice and easy. Don't push down on it because you don't want to punch the air bubbles out. And then we're going to softly pick this up and put it in a Ziploc. And now when it's in the Ziploc, puff it up a little, close the Ziploc so it traps that air in there, and it gives it, the air now gives it room to rise and expand. I'm going to do another one with this one. Try and stay away from the olive oil on the counter. There we go, same thing. Puff it up a little bit, close it up, that's it. All right, now we'll come back in about an hour, hour and a half to start making the pies, or at least form the pies, and that's really it. Once you see that, you can put anything you want on the pie. You could use any kind of sauce that you'd like, vodka sauce, marinara sauce. If you want to make a white pizza, you don't need any sauce. But that's it, very easy. It's faster to make it than it would take you to go out to the store and go and buy it, and this is 1000% better. So we'll be back.
No, he's not.
Okay, welcome back. Here we are, hour later. As I said, the dough will rise throughout the Ziploc, and it is now a square piece of dough, which, for the way I am going to prepare the pizza, makes it pretty easy. So I'm going to take my pan, olive oil, spray it on the pan, not too much. Too much will end up making that crust get black on the bottom. If you have any areas where it did get a little too heavy, you just spread it out with your hands, and you're all good. Okay? Now we take this Ziploc bag. My wife hates it that I do this because she thinks it's like retarded or something. But we basically will take this, cut it on both sides, and it makes it a lot easier now to just flip over, put in the pan, and then we can spread it out nice and even. And out of all the time I've been doing pizza, this works a lot better than trying to take the dough, spread it out on a counter, and then put it in the pan. And just remember one thing, always room temperature dough is a lot easier to work with than cold dough. Cold dough will spring back a great deal. So we've got that out, so this is garbage. All right, and what I do is put a little olive oil on my hands also so the dough doesn't stick to the hands. Move that out of the way for you. And now we just start spreading it out in the pan. And we just spread it out without pushing down too hard, because then we'll take all the air bubbles out. And one thing I did forget was to put a damp paper towel under the pan so it does not move on me. Damp paper towel, and the pan won't move unless I spread it out. So as you see, you spread it out, it's a whole lot easier to spread out. And if you find yourself that you had a thin spot, you can just take a thick spot and just maneuver it into where it is a little too thin. So we're gonna keep pushing this out, stretch the corner just a tad. It doesn't have to be perfect in the pan, as long as it's out there and it's no longer springing back. And again, just delicately. Okay. And that's it. Those of you that are friends of mine that have sent me pizzas that they've made, and they never were like 4 inches from the pan on one side, the other corner was about 6 inches from the middle. This is how I get mine to go all the way to the pan. I have a little thin spot here, so I'll just slide everything over. And there you go. Now another trick my wife taught me, because she's the true chef in the family. I'm usually here as a sous chef. What we do, on the crust, on the end, where you're not putting the gravy, olive oil. Put a little olive oil on the end, and what that does, it makes it nice and crispy for you. There we go. And just spread it out with your finger. I put a little bit too much on one side, so dab it with a paper towel, take some off. Because again, that will make this side black, and we really don't want that unless you really like it super crispy and black on one side. Okay, thank you, hon, for cleaning that for me. All right, now we're gonna use gravy. This Jersey gravy I find very good, and you know, been getting lazy during the lockdown, so we haven't been making gravy on Sundays. And we're gonna spread it out. And this pizza, you can use, like I said, any toppings that you prefer. I've got my fan club laughing at me in the background. That's okay, I'm accustomed to being laughed at. Okay, just gonna spread it out. And again, less is more. You really don't need a ton of gravy, because then it makes the pizza heavy and it makes the dough much more difficult to cook, and it can be a little bit on the doughy side. So just remember that, less is more. Tonight, the 4 pies that we're making, we're doing some shallots on one. We're gonna do margarita because we have our neighbor's kids. So we're gonna do margarita for them. This one, I'm gonna just put some mozzarella, and I think I'm gonna put some supersada on this one. So I'm gonna pull that out a little bit. That's okay. All right, so that's it. That's enough with the gravy. Or the sauce, whatever you wanna call it. All right, that's good. Now we have our ingredients right here, all ready to go. And again, less is more. The mozzarella will spread out, especially the thicker pieces, so you don't have to have the mozzarella all over. If you want to use shredded mozzarella, you can use shredded mozzarella, and then you get more pizza place style pizza. But this is fresh mozzarella. I know you wouldn't expect nothing less from a guinea, so that's what we're gonna do. And then, you see shallots, that's for the other pizza. I would love to put shallots on here also, but I don't think everybody else is really gonna like the shallots on here. And there, that's really about it with the mozzarella. I think we've got enough there. We'll get a little bit here in this corner. And then, I am a big fan of supersad. Supersad's a dry Italian sausage. Now the supersad shrinks, so we're gonna go edge to edge. Because of the fat in the supersad, it will shrink on the pizza, so you will have a little bit of overlapping on the edges. And what I did not put on this one was Parmesan. I should have sprinkled some Parmesan. You know what? Yeah, I like Parmesan. And this is just it. With supersad, you can actually just take it right off if you make that error, which we're going to do. We're going to take it off. We're going to put some Parmesan in there. Give it a little bit more cheesy flavor, but also a little saltiness in the Parmesan. So here we go. So you got me all nervous being in TV land over here. And throw a little Parmesan in there. That's good. And then we'll go back to the supersad. As I said, have it overlap a little because the supersad is going to really shrink a great deal. It's like when you purchase a steakhouse hamburgers at your butcher or your supermarket. Those burgers really shrink a great deal because of the fat. The same thing, the fat in the supersad will shrink a great deal. And we'll do a little overlapping here. And bingo. And yeah, I am using Ceterio supersad. It is excellent. It's imported. It's really great. So that's it. That's our supersad pie. It's then going to go into the oven, 550 degrees, 9 to 11 minutes. Check the crust, check the bottom, make sure it's not burnt, and I promise you, you'll absolutely love it. Thanks so much. Now, don't forget, also, if you really like this, hit the subscribe button on your YouTube channel, and if I get enough people that actually like this, I may come back and do some more recipes. Obviously not mine, my wife's, but we'll give it a shot. Thanks so much. Take care. Okay, folks, all done. Unfortunately, we have some people over and they actually went after the pizzas. So they screwed up the pizzas. So here we go. It's a margarita. This one's a split of supersad and shallots. This is all shallots. And on the other side, you have the supersad. Obviously, nobody came back. The person that took 2 slices did not come back and complain or bitch and moan about it. So it's got to be good. I know I'm going to love it, and I hope you love it too. Again, if you like what you see, send it out to your friends. Have them hit the subscribe button. Like I said earlier, if we get 250 subscribers, I will come back with some more recipes. And I'll talk to most of you that I know very, very well and personally and ask you what you would like to see me cook next time. All right, hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Have a good night.